Watch this!
It's time to work the hamstrings. Now the hamstrings are the muscles in the back of the thigh. They oppose the quadriceps, which are the ones here in the front of the thigh. We've already worked the quads with dumbbell squats or any other kind of compound leg press type motion. And also we've worked the quads with leg extensions out like this. Now if you don't work the hamstrings, a lot of people don't work them as much, you develop an imbalance between the two opposing muscle groups, which can be a cause of a lot of injuries. So definitely add some type of a direct single joint hamstring exercise like this to your routine. Okay, a couple little trivia tidbits here. Hamstrings, first of all, here's an earful, consist of the semimembranosus, the semitendinosus, and the bicep femoris. So sometimes they're referred to as the leg biceps. Remember, biceps are two muscle heads or two muscle bellies within the muscle. So you have the long head and the short head. So there's actually like four major muscle groups back there within the hamstring. There's also a couple of other muscles that are used with this leg curl type exercise. The gracilis, the sartorius. The sartorius actually is the longest muscle in the body, runs from here to here. So, but the main hamstring muscle was actually named after a pig. More trivia. It's like being hamstrung. They actually used to hang pigs from their hamstring tendons. Sorry if you weren't interested in that, but they hang pigs from the hamstring tendon. It was called being hamstrung. So that's where the name actually originated from. But a hamstring muscle is responsible for both knee flexion, bending the knee down like this, and also from bringing your knee in front of the body to back behind you. It's hip extension, bringing your knee from in front, bending it, and bringing it back behind the body. So this is a seated leg curl. This is a leg curl where you're sitting upright, your hip is actually flexed here, and you're just basically kicking yourself back in the glutes. And it's this motion here. If you really wanted to fully work all the muscle bellies within the hamstring, you may prefer to do like a lying leg curl, something where your body's in a straight line from knee, hip, shoulder. It's all in one line, so your knee is extended backward and you're lying on your stomach or standing straight up doing a leg curl in that fashion. So it activates more muscle tissue. It's a little tougher on the lower back, and I just prefer starting people with this. This machine actually was originated from trying to design something for pregnant women because they couldn't lie on their stomach when they're doing hamstring work. So you're sitting upright like this, stomach has nothing in the way, and you can still work hamstrings in a little bit more comfortable position. So the first key point with positioning yourself in this machine correctly is, of course, lining up the axis of rotation of the joint with the axis of the motion, or the cam, or the spindle, the axis here on the machine. My axis of rotation of the joint is pretty easy. It's the knee joint right here from the side, and the axis of the machine is right through here. There's a little spindle. There's very, very little resistance. This is a hammer strength machine, and there's very, very little resistance here. So what I want to do, get myself out of here, is line up my knee joint with that axis. So scoot myself forward a little bit. The seat is adjustable. And you want to be in a position that when you're fully extended, you're lined up with the axis, but your knees are not hitting any kind of a pad in front of you. Some machines have this, some of them don't. You don't want to grind your patella, your kneecap, down into your knee. Okay, now that my knees are lined up with the axis of rotation of the machine, I want to make sure they stay there during the exercise. And remember Newton's third law, for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. So if I'm pulling back here with 100 pounds of force, my body's going to tend to go this way with 100 pounds of force, right over the handlebars, unless I hold on really tight or instead use my seatbelt, because I want to keep the rest of my body pretty much relaxed. So if it has a seatbelt, you pretty much want to use it most of the time, and put it on tight. If this is on too loose, what's going to happen? You're going to move forward a couple of inches, which means your knees are going to move off the axis of rotation of the machine. They're probably going to hit the little pads. You're going to grind your patellas, your kneecaps into your patellar groove, and get some kind of chondromalacia or some kind of patellar groove syndrome. So make sure you are properly positioned, seatbelt's tight, you're in place, and you're ready to go. Now, the weight on this machine is all on one side of it. There's other pins with plates around, but disregard them. Focus just on the weight bar that's going to be moving during the exercise. Usually there's a handle here you can push forward to get yourself into the position. You want to make sure you get in slowly and safely. Don't try to contort your body and tweak a knee before you do the exercise. Okay, so push this forward, get your legs in, get them in place. Make sure you are still lined up with this axis of rotation. Okay, now on leg extensions, we pointed the toes. Remember why we did that? We didn't want to stretch out the calves or cause the quadriceps to not contract with as much force. On this one, if you point your toes, because the muscle back here, the gastrocnemius, the big calf muscle, is contracting to flex the leg a little bit as well. If your toes are pointed, they may tend to cramp the calf muscle. Calf cramps are painful, they're no fun, and this is almost a sure way of doing it if you point your toes during the movement. So what I do on this one is pull my toes back. You want to stretch out the calves, take them out of the equation a little bit. Now it's more emphasis on the hamstring muscles, not as much on the calves. So you're back in position, poker face, everything's relaxed, holding on loosely with the handles. You're going to breathe out as the weight comes up, basically kicking yourself in the glutes. Pause, because the weight right here is pushing down. I'm actually in a peak contraction. I want to take advantage of that. And then slowly back up 4 or 5 seconds, breathing normally. Getting a full stretch, but not pausing at the top. Breathe out, hold it, slowly back down. Now, because there's so little friction on this axis on the machine, a lot of people like to try to take advantage of that just by swinging the weight, just going through a full range of motion quickly. The problem with that, not only can you injure the muscle because you're creating a lot of force quickly, but when you push initially in the beginning of the range of motion, the weight kind of floats, it just kicks up, and this whole extreme part of the range of motion where you're fully flexed, you're really not getting much resistance. You're basically cheating yourself. So I tell people that when they move through the range of motion, you should be able to stop on a dime. If somebody said stop, just right there, you should be able to stop the motion. So breathe out, stop, I can stop. Breathe out, I can stop there if I wanted to. Slowly back up, stop any place you want, slowly up. Now, because my belt's tight, I'm staying in position, I'm not sliding forward. Remember also that a weight that you choose for this hamstring machine or any exercise you do doesn't necessarily correlate to a weight of another machine. So if I'm using 100 pounds, I don't know exactly what this is, I just wanted to make a pretty arrangement of my weights, but if I was doing 100 pounds on this leg curl, it doesn't mean I could necessarily use 100 pounds on a Nautilus machine or a Cybex machine or another different brand. So write down your weights specifically to the machine you're using. To get out of this, push forward with the handle, take your legs out, and you're all done with hamstrings. Don't forget to take off your seatbelt. And that's it. We've worked the glutes, we've worked the front of the thighs, we've worked the back of the thighs. It's time to move on to the inner thighs, the adductors.